So after beating Angel of Darkness, I was a little skeptical coming into Tomb Raider Legends. I know this game isn't made by Core Design, the original developers of Tomb Raider, and because this game is a reboot of the series, everything planned with Angel of Darkness is basically just non-existent here. So for anyone that's not familiar with Tomb Raider or Lara Croft, you're basically getting a fresh start into the series. This is actually the first Tomb Raider game that Crystal Dynamics worked on. Now, I'm more familiar with the newer Tomb Raider games, the Survivor series made by Crystal Dynamics, so it's actually pretty surprising how different this game is compared to those. I never understood why some people didn't like the Survivor series, but after playing Tomb Raider Legends, I can fully understand someone who knows that Crystal Dynamics made both of these games, that a lot of the great work that was done in the Legends series is just completely gone in the Survivor series, and I can't wait to tell you about them in this review. Before we continue on, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the hype button. I'm showing you where that is right now. I'm thankful for Jehovah, God, and Jesus Christ for bringing each and every one of you to my channel, as you guys could be watching anybody on YouTube, but you guys found little old me, and I know it's because of them. I hope each and every one of you are having a blessed day. Now let's get back into the review. Tomb Raider Legends may be a reboot to the franchise, but it's not completely different from past games. As far as gameplay goes, you're still going to be fighting out bad guys, platforming, solving puzzles, and of course exploring tombs. What you do in a Tomb Raider game really hasn't changed, it's just how they decided to pace out each individual activity. When it comes to the past Tomb Raider games, if I had to put a number on it, I would say the majority of the time you were exploring the environment, followed by platforming, and then combat. Tomb Raider Legends feels like they wanted each piece of the Tomb Raider puzzle to be equal to one another. And this feeds into the new theming that this game has. Tomb Raider Legends opens up with almost a TV show-like introduction. And this is actually funny because I feel like Tomb Raider Legends, I know it has nothing to do with the past games and it's a completely different universe, if you will, for Lara Croft, but it almost feels like if the original Lara Croft was hit with an idea for a TV show, and this is just some type of TV production of Lara Croft's life, because that's what this game feels like. It feels like they took what a fan's fiction of Tomb Raider was and just made it into a game, and that sounds stupid, but it actually works really well. If you had to describe Lara Croft and what she does in her games to someone that doesn't play video games, you would say she's some badass female with dual pistols that shoots up bad guys, solves puzzles, and explores tombs, and escapes dangerous traps. But realistically, most of the times, you were just walking around a tomb until you found a lever or somewhere to go, or you made a jump here or there, and all that stuff was exciting and fun, but there was a lot of downtime in the past Tomb Raider games, a lot of getting lost in the environment because exploration was king in those games. It was about getting lost in the world that you were in the environment that you were in. Tomb Raider Legends says, forget all that. We're going to give you non-stop excitement throughout this entire game, and this interpretation of Tomb Raider, I'm not going to say it's better than the previous series, but I will say is that it works just as well. And I can make an argument that if you're someone that doesn't like exploration, but you like the idea of Lara Croft as a character, Tomb Raider Legends is going to be more of your type of game than the past games ever was. First off, Tomb Raider Legends is short. It didn't take me at all long to beat this game. This is something you can beat in a few days, if not an entire day if you really want to binge it. The game isn't difficult either, so it's not something that you'll get lost in. And now again, this sounds bad if you're used to the past Tomb Raider games, but I think that this works just fine. When I'm dropped into a level like Bolivia and I'm going from set piece to set piece to set piece, and none of these things are repeating themselves, everything is going smoothly from platforming to exploring to combat to platforming again, and I'm doing something different now. Instead of just walking and climbing, I'm swinging from a rope. Now I'm going from that, from sliding down a hill and shooting up bad guys. I'm learning that Lara has a brand new combat system that, let me tell you something, Tomb Raider has never been known for its combat. This is the first time the series has ever had amazing combat. And this is something that the series needed. Angel of Darkness had great sounding guns, and they seemed like they were going into a direction of making the combat better, but it really didn't fulfill it because the AI still sucked. These enemies will flank Lara, they will get into better positions, they have multiple different types of guns and different ways you need to deal with them, and these enemies play into the new moveset that Lara has when it comes to combat. Lara can now lock on the enemies or go into a free aim. Now the free aim is something that you really won't do that much unless you just want to. I use this more for puzzle solving than combat, but there was an occasion where I decided to use it just to see what it's like, but you could just stick to locking on the enemies. This cursor gives you a clear indication of who you were locked onto. Now in past Tomb Raider games, you could tell who you were locked onto by Lara's vision, and that was good enough, but sometimes that's just not enough for a player. Sometimes they want to see a clear indication they're locked onto something to be sure. And not only that, this game tells you when you're too far away. If the reticle is not red, that means that you're locked on, but that gun will not reach that enemy. Those bullets won't hit them, so you need to get closer or get a better weapon. Another thing they did is they rebalanced the weapon. Lara will always have her dual pistols, but she can only carry one other gun that she has to find by picking off an enemy or around in the environment. This adds a bit of strategy to the game because you can always rely on your pistols, but they're not the strongest. When you pick up a rifle, it will shoot faster and farther than your pistols, but sometimes you need something more close quarters, something more hard hitting, so you need to pick up a shotgun. There's also grenade launchers. You can also pick up grenades and just throw them now. So it really makes Lara feel like just a typical lock-on based shooter, but they don't forget that she's Lara Croft, and Lara Croft is acrobatic. So they blend that into the combat, and this is where the combat gets really cool. Lara can lock onto an enemy, walk up to them, and just kick them. Matter of fact, she could just kick random things in the environment, and this is cool because this game has a lot of physics, what we'll talk about when we get to the puzzles, which is one of the best features of this game. But this new ability to kick enemies feeds into the smoothness of combat. So now when you're close up on an enemy and you don't have a shotgun, you could just kick them out of your way. Not only that, but Lara can run off of the enemy's faces and just shoot them in midair. And while doing this, the game goes into a slow motion dodge type thing. Again, this feeds into this weird theory in my head that it feels like they wanted to make a Tomb Raider TV show that was completely just off the walls crazy. This is what it feels like. This is like if someone said, let's take Lara Croft and just make her be the most craziest action hero there ever was. This whole game, from its story to its gameplay, feeds into this. When I realized that Lara could dive into enemies or slide into them, and when she does, they kind of go up in the air and she can sort of kind of air juggle them with her pistols, I'm like, what kind of Devil May Cry influence is this? Matter of fact, a lot of Tomb Raider Legends feels like they took inspiration from games around that time period, but I'll bring those up periodically in the editing throughout the video. I won't really talk about it because it's just maybe my imagination, but it just feels like I've seen these things in other places. But the combat overall is phenomenal. This is the best combat that Tomb Raider has ever had up to this point. The guns sound amazing. Maybe not as good as the Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness remastered version of the game, but these guns sound great. The balance between the weapons is well done. I never felt like I was too overpowered, and Lara doesn't have that many bullets on her at any given time, so you just can't pick up an overpowered gun and just blast through things. You have to use your mind a bit when you're in combat. You can easily die too, but remember those ragdoll physics? I got blown away one time and Lara's body just went flying off across the map. It was crazy. I never seen nothing like that in the Tomb Raider game before. You really need to dodge, bob, and weave. And then I didn't even get into the bosses. This game has the greatest bosses that Tomb Raider has ever had as well. These bosses a lot of times do involve some type of puzzle element, so you're not just shooting the enemy. There's something the enemy does where you have to figure out how to stop them from healing themselves again, and that was cool to add to the combat. And the overall combat, this is just an outright improvement. The series before this, combat just existed to have it. This feels like someone took their time and said, we need to finally give Tomb Raider a proper combat system. I can easily see someone just loading up the levels that they know will have the most action in it, the most shooting in it, and just play through those levels again because it's fun just shooting up these bad guys. It's so fun. I wish the game had horror mode. That's how good it is. Now, when it comes to platforming, I'll admit this platforming works well, but it's not as good as past games. And the reason why is because Lara doesn't have a lot of her moves. Now, when it comes to platforming, there are jumps that classic Lara Croft could have made that this new one just cannot hop to. She hops at a more human-like level, and the reason why they probably did this is because she has this new grappling hook. She can swing from objects like Spider-Man or even pull things toward her, and I think this new grappling hook is genius. It makes sense for her to have. She can even use it as how the ropes worked in the past game. She can latch onto something and climb up and down a rope to get wherever height she needs to be and then swing from it. It all works really well. But I think them adding this made them think, well, we can't make Lara jump too far either because it would defeat the purpose of the rope. Not only that, one other aspect of the platforming that I feel kind of just, it's not bad, it's just different. Lara no longer has that, I don't know how to describe it. In the past Tomb Raider games, there was this feeling of Lara almost lingering in the air. This game does it, but it feels off. You can even tell in this game that when Lara makes a certain type of jump, she'll almost linger in the air, just not nearly as long, and she'll reach out and grab something. But she'll do this no matter the distance between the gap between the jumps, and it just feels weird. It almost feels like she's frozen in the air, and then she drops to grab hold of the ledge. Another thing that's kind of odd is that they took away the ability for you to jump and then grab things yourself. This slightly takes away a bit of challenge, and the reason why they probably did this is because this game is on rails more than any other Tomb Raider game. For example, I was stuck at this puzzle and I assumed I could jump over to this ledge, but you can't. You can't reach it, you can't grab hold of it, even though technically Lara could actually reach this thing. It's just the game just doesn't let you and you end up dying from it. This really wouldn't have happened in the past games. The platforming in this game actually reminds me a lot of the Prince of Persia. Both games have guided platforming segments, but they don't hold your hand. You can make mistakes and you can die, and unlike Prince of Persia, there's no rewind feature, so if you fail these, you just die and need to start over at a checkpoint, which thankfully this game has plenty of. The original Tomb Raider was more grounded when it came to its platforming, and the biggest highlights in that game were making just gigantic leaps of faith with Lara Croft and the feeling that came from making those jumps because of how they mastered the physics and how Lara would linger in the air. It almost always felt like she was not going to make it, but if you knew how the grid system worked, you knew she would. This game is different. It never lets you breathe, and Lara is always doing something cool. So when you're platforming, you go from just jumping and climbing, and then the environment around you begins to break. You need to hurry up and get where you need to go by tapping the Y button. Lara began to slide down a cliff, and then you need to jump and grapple hook onto something in midair, swinging from pole to pole, pipe to pipe. You're just doing all these actions in one sequence of platforming, which is something that was not possible or done in the past Tomb Raider games. The trade-off is fine because it was replaced with something different, but just as good as what we had in the past. You really can't compare the two, which ultimately is good because unlike the combat, which is just completely superior in Crystal Dynamics' version of Tomb Raider, but if this was just Core Design's system, the grid-based system again, but done by Crystal Dynamics, I don't really think as much they could have done with this anyway. That system was limited. This, on the other hand, uses what I would call traditional platforming systems. This works so much better for Tomb Raider, especially at this point when they basically just ran out of things they possibly could have done with the grid-based system. But they didn't just bring in traditional platforming and make a bunch of set pieces. They also brought in physics, which plays into the platforming and puzzle solving. The physics in this game go way beyond just seeing enemies fly across the screen when the rad dog kicks in from an explosion. Lara will be pulling plenty of objects around the environment, destroying things around her, and just messing up these tombs and ancient ruins. Like, this version of Lara really just doesn't care about anything and just destroys everything she comes across, and everything around her is being destroyed at the same time. This level of destruction is not something I ever thought Tomb Raider would benefit from, but I'm learning that it does benefit from this. The amount of things that blow up in the environments from gunfights all feeds into the physics. Not only that, like I said, the puzzles are normally physics based. You're going to be pushing or pulling something around the environment, whether it be a crate, some type of gigantic ball, this game loves using those, Or there may even be times where you'll land on a platform and that platform has physics applied to it and Lara has to balance herself. All of this adds so much depth to Tomb Raider, and I didn't know that Tomb Raider needed some type of physics to its puzzles. The beautiful thing about using physics in puzzles is that subconsciously we all use physics every day. So you can look at a puzzle in this game and figure out what you should do, not necessarily know exactly the answer, but you will at least have a starting point because, well, you're a human being in a world full of physics anyway. So you should be able to grasp what you should do once you realize all these puzzles use some form of physics. Now, this Tomb Raider game does keep the tradition of not telling the player everything they need to know. Now, this only happened one time where this game has a lot of tutorials in the beginning and they will remind you what to do. It's not overbearing, but they do remind you a decent amount of times in the beginning how to interact with certain objects. One thing the game did not tell me when I got stuck at this particular puzzle is that I could go into third person free aiming and throw my grappling hook so I can pull this ball down. Again, the game doesn't tell you this, so I didn't know I could do it, but then a whole nother level later they mention it. So I'm just gonna take that up to some type of error or something, I don't know. But I figured it out thanks to Jehovah God, and I was able to solve this puzzle by moving these bowling balls around. Throughout each level, there are these optional collectibles that you can find that unlock tons of secret costumes and upgrades to your weapons and things like that, and concept art. And some of these involve physics. You have to destroy crates to find some. Some you can actually throw your grappling hook on and pull them towards you. One of my favorite ones was actually in this weird crate in the Yakuza office, and I was like looking at this crate like, what am I supposed to do with this crate? And Jehovah God and Jesus Christ told me to keep messing with it, and I'm like, am I supposed to push this on the ground? I did, and it broke, and there was an item inside. And that, again, it seems simple. I'm just grabbing something and pushing it and watching it fall. But I don't know, for me, physics in games has always been interesting. It's always been enjoyable to be able to interact with something and it dynamically moves. Another moment in this game that reminds me of an infamous mission in one of my favorite video games of all time has you moving these crates around with a forklift, and you can even stack these crates up to get a secret. And then there's a point in the level where you can bust through a wall, and what you're supposed to do is drive through all these spikes and the forklift will dynamically destroy them. But I was thinking too big brained, and I grabbed a crate and I rammed the crate into the spikes so that the forklift wouldn't get destroyed. And I said, oh, this is cool, but this is kind of dumb and slow. I don't know why they decided to make this slow and tedious. And then I just ran into the spikes and realized, oh, I never had to do that to begin with. So that was just me thinking outside the box. It worked. It's just, don't do that. It's a waste of time. Another big brain moment for me, which is actually in the same level as the one with the crane, Jehovah God had to help me with this one because I was doing it out of order. So there's this bell and you can climb up on the rope on the bell, and then there's this chandelier, and I was jumping on the chandelier, balancing myself, then jumping on this other weight in its rope. And the game lets you do all this stuff, but I'm doing it out of order. And the cool thing about this is that Jehovah God and Jesus Christ helped me to remember that this game actually has a helping system. One of the things I can't stand about modern day gaming is that they hold your hand. Tomb Raider Legends has this cool feature where you can pull out your binoculars and you can scan the environment. And you'll hear Zip on the intercom mention certain things like, oh, this item can do this or it can do that, but he doesn't tell you exactly what to do with anything. Neither does the characters ever call in to Lara and just tell her what to do. So you can actually get stuck on a puzzle yourself, but they give you enough guidance so you can help yourself figure things out. If you ever get stuck, you can pull out your binoculars. The reason I didn't do it here is because honestly, I never wanted to pull out my binoculars. I just wanted to figure things out on my own without using them to see if the game would even allow me to. Sometimes games work in a strange way where if you don't use the help system that they have implemented, like this game, you can might as well say the binoculars is detective vision. There are some games that if you don't activate its detective mode before trying to solve a puzzle, it won't even let you succeed even if you figured out the solution. This game doesn't work that way. If you don't want to ever use this feature at all, you don't have to, but if you need it, it's there for you. I think more games could be like Tomb Raider Legends when it comes to this. Give players who need extra help an item to use, but if you don't want to use them, the game is also perfectly fine to be played without it. I wish more games worked this way. The physics in Tomb Raider Legends feels like a missing piece to the Tomb Raider franchise. It feels like it should have always been there. Now, of course, this game started on the PlayStation 1 where that wasn't possible, but this just feels like this should have always been a part of Tomb Raider. And anytime someone can add something to a series, a long-standing series, and it feels like that this feature that they added should never be removed, it tells you how well done it was in this game. The last piece to the gameplay of Tomb Raider Legends has to be the vehicle segments. Now, Tomb Raider is no stranger to vehicles, but this has to be the best vehicles have ever been done in any other Tomb Raider game. By making dedicated driving levels, they actually eliminated a lot of the issues from past Tomb Raider games where it felt like they were trying to make the levels do too much, because a lot of times in the past with the driving segments in Tomb Raider games, you can get out of your vehicle and do some exploration and maybe find like a hidden object here or there. So they had to design the map around the concept that you might get out the car. There is no getting out the car. You just drive forward, dodge whatever's coming towards you, shoot at the bad guy, shoot an explosive barrel, collect some help if you need some, and just keep shooting. And it's fun. It doesn't take up too much of your time. It doesn't get boring. If you ever needed a good break from what you were already doing in the game, I mean, I feel everything about this game is just a hit. Every segment of gameplay worked so well. There was never a point where I was frustrated. There was never a point where I thought the game was boring. Each level has a different theme. Each level feels good to be in. Each environment is different. For example, there's 2 snow levels, one near the end, one near the middle, but they feel totally different because the one in Russia is more about action and shooting. The one near the end is more about platforming and puzzle solving. So they were smart in not making them feel identical. Again, this, I have to give it to Crystal Dynamics. The pacing, the way everything is timed, everything just hits. This feels like a well-calculated game. Everything hits well. So when these vehicle segments come in, they come in right when you need them. So if you guys can't tell, when it comes to the gameplay, overall, this is some of the best gameplay we've had in any Tomb Raider game. And I'm talking about from every aspect. You can argue the past Tomb Raider games had more challenging platforming, and you may prefer that. But I don't know anyone that's going to say that the past games had better combat or driving segments or better pacing. It's just, there were times in the past games, as much as I love them, where I could tell the developers was just like, just give the player something to do or prolong this experience because we want this game to feel longer than what it needs to be. That's, again, I brought up pacing already. This game is short, but it's short and sweet. What I mean by that is that when you're done with it, you're gonna sort of kind of say, I want more to do. And the funny thing is there is more to do, but when you're done with it, you feel satisfied. You feel like the game ended when it should have ended, and there was no reason to go beyond this. I never felt like any level overextended its welcome, and it's probably because every level, wherever you start in one level, trust me, by the end of it, you're like in a totally different, you're still in the same country, but whatever you were doing in the beginning, you're not doing it in. For example, you visit King Arthur, like an amusement park, and about time you're done with that level, you go from being an amusement park to his actual grave underneath, and then you're fighting like a God of War style lizard monster, and it's like, what just happened? Like, it's not hard to follow, but that's what I mean, how a level can just change and go from one thing to another, and it's smooth and it feels good. And that, I'm just sorry, like, this game from a gameplay perspective is the best Tomb Raider game I have played at this point. And that's impressive to say, because if we count Core Design's Tomb Raider games and this one Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raider games, we're gonna go through the rest of them as well. There was only one game I really didn't like that much, and that was Tomb Raider 5. That's one game out of 7 games that did not hit well. And even that game is not horrible, it's just not that good. That's impressive to make high quality games that consistent. I understand why this franchise is so beloved, but we can't just stick to gameplay. We got to talk about the story, and this is where the story in this game is a little bit, we got to get into it. Okay, just a reminder, Legends is a reboot, so I'm gonna judge it as if I know nothing of Lara, the character, even though this Lara, personality wise, is sort of similar to the past Lara Croft. But again, not exactly. First off, this game gives an origin to Lara. Lara was a rich young girl with her mother. They crash landed and she got zapped away by some sword, right? That's the premise of this game. And Lara has been, the game doesn't directly tell you this, but you can pick up on it until they just blatantly tell you that Lara, up to this point, everything she's doing is been obsessing over finding her mother, proving that her dad was right because her dad felt like her mother never died and, you know, she was somewhere out there. And the game really evolves around her obsession of finding her mom. Now, the tone of the game, again, feels like some type of, she almost feels like James Bond, which is not unfamiliar. Lara has always had that vibe. Anytime they put her in some type of sneaking type environment, but especially in the mission where she goes and meets with the Yakuza about one of the sword fragments, this definitely felt like something out of James Bond. Lara just gives off ultra cool, like she's just, no one can beat her. She's not quippy. She doesn't say too many quips, but she's just doing crazy things. Like she's just doing things that, again, this feels like a TV show version of Lara Croft. This feels like this isn't a real individual anymore. Lara has always done superhuman like jumping and stuff like that, but that's whatever. This Lara Croft, like, she's just a superhero at this point. She's a Power Ranger. I don't know who this lady is, and that plays kind of into the story feeling a little bit crazy. I'm not going to completely spoil it because there's not much here, and I don't know what happens next, and this game ends on a cliffhanger. But what I will say is that anyone that's played Tomb Raider Legends knows that the big reveal at the end, which I will not spoil, because honestly, the whole entire story is just basically this. The myth of King Arthur is real. There's some type of sword, and this sword has magical powers, and it gives people all this power and strength, and they end up ruling for a period of time. And it really doesn't go beyond that. You don't learn much more because this game is clearly setting itself up for a sequel. But Lara's mom and what happened to her is tied to this sword. And she also has a lot of friends in this game. Lara has probably more friends than ever before. And that's one thing I can say that I do like about this version of Lara Croft. She seems more human. Like in the past, we didn't really know much about Lara's personal life. We knew she had a butler. Then about Tomb Raider 4, she had a friend. And Tomb Raider 5, she had, I guess, some more friends that mourned her death. But we really don't know much about Lara. She was just an adventurer, a thrill seeker, someone that would raid tombs and take stuff out of them. Like that's basically all she was. And she was a lot more quippy, and she was obviously confident. But other than like basic information, you don't know much about Lara. This Lara has suffered a lot of loss. She not only lost her mother, but she lost a lot of her friends. So she does show signs of being grieved. You can see her struggle emotionally when she has to revisit locations in the story from her past, or even when she talks to old friends she hasn't seen in a while. These are just emotions that you didn't see from Lara basically ever. The only time I ever saw Lara show, I don't even know what type of emotion you would describe it as, but I guess the relief when she saw Von Croy at the end of Tomb Raider 4 and he wasn't possessed anymore. She seemed to be happy about that, but that's the only like interesting emotion the old Lara ever expressed. This Lara seems more human despite the inhuman type things she does throughout the game, but as a character she seems fine. Now, one thing I think it is interesting, but it almost seems strange, is near the end of the game. Now this is a spoiler. Near the end of the game, Lara, she finally gets the sword together and sticks it into the stone. And when she does this, it opens up a portal. And in this portal, she sees her mom before she disappeared. But clearly, this is Lara piercing through the same portal her mother was piercing through back when she was a kid. So there's some type of time paradox thing going on here, which is interesting for Tomb Raider. I like where this is going. But Lara's friend Amanda, now let me explain who Amanda is. Amanda's one of Lara's friends that got killed seemingly by this evil spirit, which the game never explains or talks about. Clearly, all of this stuff is just setting up for a sequel, which I don't even know ever comes or not. I have Tomb Raider Anniversary, which is a remake of Tomb Raider 1, and I have Tomb Raider Underworld. I don't even know if any of those games address any of this stuff, but I'm just telling you, in Legends, that evil spirit thing, not really explained. But Amanda survives dying by this evil spirit. I guess she takes control of it and it saved her life. So Amanda just kind of looks like a golf chick now. Besides the point, she tells Lara to remove the sword from the stone because it's going to explode if she doesn't. But the mom hears that and she does it, and then she disappears. All that aside, and you might be saying like, I don't understand the context of this stuff. Trust me, the game doesn't have much context. Like, I just told you the whole game story. The whole game is Lara trying to find these sword pieces, and she finally does, realizes that the myth and legends of King Arthur are true. This sword is strong and it has magical powers. You can even use it in the game, which is awesome. But near the end, when Lara's trying to figure out what's going on, Amanda tells her that her mother's in a different plane of existence. But Lara, I think this version of Lara, because Amanda says you're such a scientist, and Lara doesn't seem to believe in a lot of the ancient tales that she researches. But Lara, to get the information about what happened to her mom from Amanda, she threatens to shoot this girl in the face. And she even like shoots the gun like multiple times near her face. And then she pistol whips her at the end. And I'm like, I don't like that. That was so weird. That's why I had to spoil it. It's so weird because nothing about Lara leading up to this point gives you this impression. She's like, now I get it. She just saw her mom potentially die again, or she saw it from the other angle, or Lara could be feeling in this moment that it was her fault that her mother died, and she's been having this grief all these years about her mother dying, only to realize that technically she killed her mom, sort of, kind of. I get that. Like, that's the only thing. Maybe that's what they were going for, but it just seems so over the, like Lara said some God of War, some Kratos type stuff. She said, every breath you have after this is a gift from me. Like, what is going on? Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. And again, I just want to know where they're taking the story. I'm not going to say it ruins anything because it doesn't. It was just kind of like, huh, okay. And then the credits roll. And I'm like, what the heck was that? All right, whatever. But Tomb Raider Legends, an amazing game. I had a blast playing it. It was a great game. It was an easy run through. Anyone that wants to play Tomb Raider Legends, I advise you to buy it on the PC, or I'm going to eventually play the 360 version, which I hear is better graphics, and it also has like some DLC you could buy for it that I'll try out. There's also bonus content in this game as well I want to mention real quick. There's time trials. So the game is short already, but you can run through each level and try to beat the time trials. There's the return of the Croft Mansion, and I love the redesign. It's somewhat familiar, but also different. But there are some locations in this mansion that you'll recognize, like the pool room or the gymnasium. Like, it's, for the most part, every part of the mansion from before is there, except for some rooms are in different locations. But other than that, I enjoyed the extra content, and it's fun going through. This mansion also has, secret items you can collect and things like that. And it's a whole little level in itself. But that's Tomb Raider Legends, an amazing game. And I gotta admit, for them to pass the ball to Crystal Dynamics, and this is what they did with it, this is an amazing reboot to the franchise. It's so good and so different enough that I wouldn't be surprised that there was actually a split in the fan base when this game came out, because again, Core Design did not make this game, and it is a lot different from the past games. And I could see someone just preferring this over the old, or you could be like me and appreciate both. But I gotta say, they did a great job with their first attempt at Tomb Raider, and I can see why they're still in charge of it to this day. But once again, peace out, keep gaming, God bless. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that hype button. I'm showing you where that is right now. I'm grateful for Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for bringing you guys to my channel, as once again, you could be watching anybody on YouTube, but you found little on me, and that's thanks to them. Peace out, keep gaming, God bless, and I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.